Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Hope you guys having a great week. So we are back here today, guys, with a review discussion. So I'm here today joined by Dante and Fish from Krak-On Gaming. And today we're actually going to be reviewing Metroid Dread, which all three of us have played and absolutely loved. For me, Metroid Dread is one of the best games I've played this year. It's right high up there on my top 10 list, and that'll be coming at the end of the year, of course. For those of you who don't know, what is Metroid Dread? So it's actually the fifth 2D game in the Metroid series. It actually follows on from Metroid Fusion, and which is the fourth game, and this is developed by Mercury Steam. For those who don't know, that's the development team behind the 2D Samus Returns remake on the 3DS, which was kind of like a test for them to see if they could do a good quality Metroid game. That did very, very well, and obviously Nintendo gave them the green light to do a brand new Metroid game. So that's a pretty big deal for Metroid fans. Like, the hype for this game was absolutely huge in the community, and it's one of the best games to come out this year. So we're going to review this today, try and keep it as short and concise as we can do. We're aiming for 10 to 15 minutes. Whether or not we're going to be able to hit that, we will have to see. We're going to kick off today and cover all the key areas, but we're going to start by talking about the story, which is what I'm going to cover. Of course, this is a spoiler-free review, so don't worry about that. There'll be no story spoilers here. But what's the basic premise of Metroid Dread? Well, it follows on from Fusion. In Fusion, Samus basically destroyed or tackled or eradicated the X parasite, which was discovered in Fusion, which is a special kind of parasite that can imitate and take over organic beings. Right? Does that to Samus in Fusion, ends up chasing her in a very scary scene. But we're in Metroid Dread. We think X-Parasites are dead, they're gone. Samus basically, the Federation gets a video message which seems to show that the X-Parasite is not as dead as Samus originally thought, and actually exists on the planet ZDR. They send a team of 7 Emmy, which are robots, to investigate. They go dark, and Samus gets sent in effectively to find out what the hell is going on and to obviously stop the threat of the X-Parasite. Samus gets sent in typical Metroid fashion. At the beginning of the game, she comes across a mysterious Chozo, and of course, in typical Samus Metroid fashion, loses all her powers and has to spend the rest of the game regaining her powers, regaining her memory, because she loses a little bit of her memory, and finding out what the hell is going on and why there are X-Parasite on this planet, and generally what's happening. That is the premise of the story. Very simple. This is a Metroid game, so storyline is quite simple, but there are some very interesting twists and turns in the story that we won't talk about, but for huge fans of the Metroid series, I'm sure there's been quite a few deep dive videos on these, but we're going to keep it spoiler free today. But the story, for me, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the twists and turns. It was sufficient for me. You know, it just gave me enough information to know why I was on the planet, what was going on, and it had me intrigued as little bits of storyline and reveals started to gradually kind of emerge. So I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was really good and was really enjoyable. What about you guys?
I enjoyed what they laid out. There was a bit of an issue with about halfway through the game where it was like, we've gone an awful lot of the time without actually telling you story here.
Yeah.
Here's like a 10-minute scene which just fills in everything you need to know. It was like, whoa, calm down. But Metroid as a franchise has always been story, read between the lines.
Yeah.
So this is still quite a new thing for Metroid to handle that level of storytelling. So it wasn't bad, but certainly an element which could have done with a bit of refinement, but overall,
so
yeah.
pacing, mostly pacing for you was the main issue. I can kind of get that. I get that completely. Yeah, they took like the Kojima approach to like cinematic cutscenes, like 10 minutes of exposition. But I enjoyed what was there. Dante, for you, story?
Yeah, very good. Without can't say too much, but
No.
it was a nice wrap up to the previous games, with hints that it could go further. It's very good.
It's got me interested enough that I kind of want to know what happens next.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I'm very intrigued to see where they're going to take the series, and I kind of hope Mercury Steam get to continue on, like the thread that they've explored. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Dante, visual and audio design. What did you think?
So pretty, so pretty. So Mercury Steam, of course, did the 3DS reboot of the second game, and all the 2D games were on old tech. We got like the NES, the Game Boy, the SNES, and then like the GBA. And when they remade the second one, it just looks so damn good. They had like, it's a 2D game, but it had layers in the background to really flesh it out. It just looked the shiniest it had ever for the 2D line of them. And then for the Switch now, it's just that, but even shinier. So it just looks so damn good. And then we're on about the cutscenes. There weren't really that many cutscenes in the previous games. So the fact that they kept peppering them in for like introducing bosses and this and that, it's just like, oh, this is really good. And that also then fleshed out Samus more, because they made it extra sassy in this game.
I love Samus's sass.
Because they
Brilliant.
like all previous, it was all text boxes to explain things to, and here she doesn't really say much, but the way she moves, the way she like taunts bosses 20 times the size or whatever, it's just like yes, she. You get actually so much character.
Yeah. You get a sense of her personality and everything. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
They did a lot of characterization through body language alone. And I think the only thing that's ever come close to characterization with a lack of facial features is Vivi from Final Fantasy IX, and the guy's got two yellow eyes, and you get more character from him than anyone else. Same thing with Samus. I think body language and her eyes is all you've got to go on, and they get it absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
so that was pretty awesome. There could have been some bits where they like could have improved a bit here. Like sometimes when they did close-ups of her eyes behind the visor, it looked a bit wonk, but it still looked good.
Especially when she goes wide-eyed. Because she reacts a few times and you're like, oh my god, she's having a fit. What's going on? Kind of thing. But
just down to the sheen. Lots of little details, like water dripping here and there, bits of stuff crafted down, or when they do the tent sections and all this and that, you got the lighting, you got like, and then that's also down to the music as well. You've got all the tent stuff. I would say the soundtrack isn't as awesome as like some of the Prime games or anything like that, but there was still, they had their genres. It's like, here's the magma area, magma style music.
It's your typical familiar Metroid soundtrack with a little bit of a twist or a remix on it, but it's what you'd expect from Metroid music.
For me, the best elements of the audio design was when the Emmy sections, the music in the Emmy sections, the fear and the dread, and just like legitimately like that psychological kind of like, oh my god. I was like listening to the trailer recently just to like rewatch things, and I was like, I just freaking out. Like, just I suddenly feel tense, but there's no Emmy around me. So the music was so good for the Emmy sections. It was,
and then the little tweety sounds that the Emmys make.
Oh, it reminded me of like the clickers in in The Last of Us. It's that kind of really uncomfortable audio.
Yeah.
Not quite natural, like really uncomfortable, and just puts that fear into you. I loved that. I thought that was really smartly done.
Yeah, and because you associate it with that sound, because you know how powerful they are, and that you've got to...
and then just make you tense. Yeah, it was.
It's actually a really good opportunity to segue into our third section,
which is the gameplay, which we'll obviously talk about the gameplay. So Fish, obviously this is your big section, your baby. So Fish, you're going to talk about the gameplay then, because there's a lot of gameplay in Metroid.
There's a lot of gameplay in this.
Lots to talk about.
So after discussing the Emmy in their sound, that is without question, that's the newest, biggest change to the gameplay of Metroid. If you've played a Metroid game before, you can expect much more of the same. From the gameplay, it's you go from area to area, you find hidden pickups, you know what you're kind of getting. where Metroid Dread changed is very much in that keyword dread. They've taken that very small sense of fear you got from the SAX in Metroid Fusion, where you're like, yeah, you're against something here that is way more powerful than you, and you don't have a choice but to run away from it. Standing and fighting is not an option. And Metroid Dread has gone, what if we do that, but do it repeatedly with Emmys?
And it gets worse and worse with everyone.
Yeah, the Emmys get stronger with different abilities as you come across a different Emmy every time. With the gameplay in Metroid, everyone who's ever played one will know one of the first power-ups you ever get is the Morph Ball. To get through your little cracks, to explore. Metroid Dread must be the one which has denied you the Morph Ball for longer than any other Metroid I've ever played. And I'm certain that that is down to the gameplay mechanic of teaching you to slide. Metroid, I don't think, has ever had a slide before. Much like Mega Man didn't have a slide till Mega Man, was it 3? But yeah, you had to crouch and roll under with Morph Ball. That's out the window. No, you run, you slide, you escape.
I love the slide mechanic. The movement in the game was so fluid. It was amazing.
And I think that's what really stands the mechanics apart in this Metroid from the others, is your movement is constantly fluid.
Yeah.
You're always having to run from room to room, sliding, ducking. The most you got with that is previous Metroids was your Shine Spark mechanic, which is back in this Metroid and is used to get more difficult to get power-ups that are hidden away.
Yeah.
And they really do lean in on your ability to use that well. But the slide mechanic is also paired with that as well. So sliding with Shine Spark is something that is now a thing. The only other thing with the mechanics that is slightly different, with previous Metroids you could amass energy tanks and fights would become easier purely from the basis of you would hold more and more health, so you could take more and more hits. You don't, in this Metroid game, have anywhere near the number of energy tanks you'd had in previous Metroid games. And enemies hit quite hard, so there's more of an emphasis on this one than any other Metroid of sheer survival. You have to know when to fight and when to run. Or, as the kids say these days, get good. And, actually just avoid being hit.
I think sometimes...
I did hear some reviewers really struggled with this game. It was tough in places, but, just keep going at it.
Yeah, I think one of the things, because this was my first Metroid game, like my first experience with it, and one of the things you have to accept straight away is you're going to die a lot. You are going to die a lot, especially in the amazing boss fights and the sequences, and some of the bosses are so hard, and you have to really learn their timings and their moves. And I think I got one moment, I'm not going to say what fight it was, but Dante watched me and it clicked in that moment, and I beat him, and I'm not kidding you. I literally put the controller down, stood up, went yes, and started running around the living room, just jumping up and down, yes, because I got it. It was that moment, and now I get why people love Dark Souls games so much, because it's that overcoming something that's so challenging and so difficult, and it's an amazing feeling, and I got that in Metroid Dread, and I loved it. There were moments I freaking hated the game. There were moments where I'm like, I have to time out, I have to put this game down, go downstairs, make a cup of coffee, take a time out and come back to it with a clear head. But I did enjoy it.
And you can tell it's Mercury Steam because they brought back the mechanic they introduced from their Samus Returns, which was also the counter, which is the ability when you see a flash, Samus swings her gun arm and knocks things back, giving you an opportunity to shoot directly at an enemy to stun them.
You can do it while moving this time.
Yeah,
you can do
such a good use of that.
You can run at something and batter them.
Yeah,
they've just, the mechanics wise, they've really gone all out.
Yeah, I thought for the combat and the gameplay, the movement, even the levels are very distinct as well. And are great. I loved how, like, when you found it's like the progression, isn't it, of any Metroid? You find new power-ups. It encourages you to explore different areas, which unlocks other areas. But this game is not linear, so it's not like an A to B kind of go from here to here. I thought the developers did a very clever job of subconsciously or like secretly, sneakily directing you, like, oh look, you've suddenly discovered this like lift that will take you to here. Oh, that might be where you want to go. So it's kind of like encouraging you to go in a certain direction, but you're gonna get times when you're gonna get lost, you know, and you're gonna have to look at the map and go, right, what haven't I explored before, and what ability do I now have that now I can get to, and I got better at reading them out. I remember when I first watched Fish play through Metroid games, and I looked at the map, and I was like, I can't make head nor sense of this map.
How do you read this?
How do you read this map? And then I looked at it, and I was like, I get it. Like, I actually get what that means and everything.
Prash's video, we pretty much spent an hour trying to find one way out of a room, which was there all along. We just didn't seen it. So we went around the map several times before we went, oh, that's where we're meant to be heading. So, you know, even experienced Metroid players get like that sometimes.
Yeah, and that's part of the enjoyment. But yeah, the gameplay is the best part of this game. To the gameplay, and then the visual level designs, cinematic designs. Anything else people want to say about the gameplay?
I think we can move on to your newfound fun of completionist.
Yeah, so I actually 100%ed the game, which is like on Metroid game. Like I was legitimately, I was like, Dante, like you 100%ed it first, Fish, because like you burnt through the game, and I'm like, I'm gonna take my time with it. Then Dante was playing it, and he was like 100%ed it, and I got to about, I was like at like 50%. I'm not 100%ing it. I'm just here for the game. I'm here for the story. I just want to finish the game. And I got to a point where I'm like, just another one. I'm gonna go for that one. And then I got to the point where I'm like, I am friggin' 100%ing this game. I'm going to get all of these friggin' spark dashes and everything. And some of them are hard.
They're brutal.
Yeah, but like the game does such a good job with exploration and hidden like secrets and hidden power-ups and things, and I just got really addicted to doing them, like I did, and I was 100%ed it, which is amazing. Like my first Metroid experience, I 100%ed that game. I've played everything. I found every secret and beat every boss. I'm proud, like as a first-time Metroid player. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's kind of making me want to go back and play all the older ones. It is making me want to go back and play them.
That's one thing I will say about the new one. Because of the tweaks to the map, the more openness to it, the detail on the map, it is possibly one of the easier Metroids to 100%. I think the one that Mercury Steam did previously, their revamp of Samus Returns, also easy one to 100% because you've got that radar ping, which scans and will show you if there's a block that can be broken. You don't have the luxury of that in older Metroids.
You had to bomb every single block just to check and shoot everything.
So
it was annoying.
I've been spoiled then with Metroid Dread. It might be hard to go back and 100% the other games. Then.
It's not a thing to undermine.
No.
100% Metroid, because as you said, some of the challenges to get them, you might know where it is, but physically getting it is another matter entirely.
Yeah.
But now the ultimate challenge is what, to speedrun it under 4 hours, was it? Or something daft to get the
4 hours,
to get the art gallery complete?
I can't even imagine that. Yeah.
So my first playthrough, just genuinely enjoying it and taking it at my own pace, I think was 14 hours, just like a couple of minutes under 14 hours. The second time I replayed it through on the hard mode, which makes no difference to the actual game itself other than your enemies hit harder. You cannot take as many hits as you could in regular mode. 2 or 3 hits from a couple of bosses and that's it, you're gone. So it really does focus more on you have to learn to dodge attacks rather than get by on taking them, and also knowing exactly when to counter. But yeah, my second playthrough, I got it down to 7 hours. So a large portion of your time there is taken away. It's purely just the challenge of dying, coming back.
Good job.
I could see people doing it in under 4 hours if they didn't do 100% run.
Yeah.
But in hard mode, I think you would struggle to do the final boss without all of your energy tanks and all of your missiles, because you need them.
He's hard, yeah. The last boss is so good, though. It's amazing.
Very good.
Like, it's such a satisfying boss when you do beat them. So yeah, Metroid Dread for me, obviously, it's a fantastic game. If we're going to summarize and score it out of 10, because I always like to score my games, this is a high one for me. I probably would give it a 9 out of 10. For me, it's close to a 10, but for me, for the Emmy sections, by the end of it, they started to grate on me a little bit. And for me, it was a case of, like, I felt like they just stopped, like, they stopped that progression for me. And it became frustrating in places, was because I just want to progress. So for me, I enjoyed them initially, but then they got a little bit old for me. There were moments, Dante, right, where I just absolutely hated the Emmys. I hated them with such a passion. But I got over them. I understand why they're there. I understand the challenge of them, and the stealth elements and the premise. It's in the friggin' name, obviously. But for me, I would have liked less of them, less Emmy encounters. I think for me, I would have liked. But still, fantastic game, fabulous game, which is why I give it a 9 out of 10. It's one of the best games I've played this year. It's a must play for anyone that owns a Nintendo Switch. I think it's a must play, and if you have not played a Metroid game like me, I can't think of a better one for you to jump in on, honestly. I think it's a great first introduction to the series. It's fabulous, and if you're not like friggin' love Samus and like think she's badass after it, I'll be very surprised. But yeah, it's great. I love it. It's great. Nintendo with a strong female character that kicks ass and doesn't need a plumber to rescue her. You know what I feel. You know what I think of Peach. Anyway.
Super Princess Peach. One of the best.
I haven't played it. Well, introduce it to me. I might change my opinion. Who knows?
I've got a copy of it.
All right. Oh, damn. I've really stepped into that then, haven't I?
It's hilarious.
Okay, that's fine. So, what about you, Dante? What would you score it?
I have more chill than you, so I didn't get as frustrated in most of the places you did. Even when, the same boss was kicking my butt over and over and over and over, I was able to okay, right. It makes you learn the patterns more. And then by the, say 12th time you've died to it or whatever, it's like, oh, I know how to deal with you now. Boom, boom, boom. It's really good.
It does do a very clever way of making you a better player.
Yeah, you can just also tell how well Mercury Steam have really put their effort in, and they're definite fans of the series. And I even know they've put a little something in for sequence breakers. Because if you get the morph ball early, there's a certain mid boss you can use it against for an entire new scene that you would not normally get. I was like, brilliant. But yeah, it's a great one. It's one of those that it's like, right, I've started playing this. I am now finishing it to completion before moving on to anything else, because it was just that good. So if I was giving it numbers, a Metroid out of 10.
Okay, so high score then. Is that 10? What is that?
You have to figure it out yourself.
I'm not going to surprise you by saying I would only give it an 8 out of 10 myself.
Wow, really?
Purely because, don't get me wrong, I love it, and it's an absolutely brilliant Metroid game. There are other Metroid games I prefer. This is a nice combination of everything that Metroid has done in the past. The only reason I'm not scoring it higher is it does take a lot of, as Nintendo has a habit of doing, and I'm sure Mercury Steam's hands were tied on this, it's a lot of rinse and repeat formula. There's nothing hugely new that it really brings to the board. And the one thing it does, as you mentioned, is the Emmys, to the point where, alright, they're cool and it's interesting, but the repeated introduction of different Emmys does begin to wear a little thin towards the end of the game.
Yep.
So much so that your last Emmy isn't even really a challenge because that's an entirely different thing.
Plot.
Because of plot reasons, the last Emmy's not even a thing. It's it's that is what lets it down for me from scoring it. That would actually give it the 9 to 10 out of 10 for me. It falls short purely because it's more of the same. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
This is the first Metroid game in the mainline story in 20 years, and I've been screaming for this since I played Fusion on the Game Boy Advance 20 years ago. I can only hope that the success, because without question, critics have loved Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
People in general have loved Metroid Dread. I only hope that it's not another 20 years before the next one.
Hopefully
I hope
not.
that I hope this has proven and lit the fire under so many people that Metroid is a franchise that is worthy of more games in the series. So let's hope the Metroid doesn't do a Pikmin.
Yeah. Hopefully
I love
not.
Pikmin, and we're still not going to get Pikmin.
No, but I think it will indicate to Nintendo that there's a longevity in the Metroid series, and there is, and it's not only seasoned like fans of the series like yourself, Fish, but it's going to introduce new people to the series, like myself, for example. I wasn't a big Metroid player or fan, and I've played this, and now I can't wait for another one. So I'm just hoping I'm not have to wait 20 years as well, like you did, which would not be good. But yeah, so that's our review of Metroid Dread. As you can tell, we all really enjoyed it. We all really loved it. Highly recommend it to you guys. If you have a Nintendo Switch, get it on your Christmas list. Get someone to get it for you. Request it. Get it in the sale. It's a fantastic game. You will not be disappointed.
My game of the year.
Yeah, it's. I can't tell you what my game of the year is because spoilers. But it's on that list. That's all I'm gonna say. And I've played a lot of games this year, so there is quite high competition, shall we say, for that place. But I can understand that it's on your game of the year, and obviously it's nominated for Game of the Year this year, which is fantastic. It is fantastic to see a Nintendo property nominated for Game of the Year. So I'm so pleased for Mercury Steam that it's been received so positively, and we'll have to see, what wins and whether or not it's going to be Metroid Dread. But yeah, if you guys have played Dread, let us know what you guys thought in the comment section below, how you enjoyed the game. But of course, keep it spoiler free, guys. Let's be friendly to everyone in the community. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful, informative if you're on the fence and you're thinking about playing it. Hope you guys have a great week, of course. Don't forget to support the channel by liking, subscribing and commenting. Don't forget to jump across and support Fish from Krak-On Gaming. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel and Twitch channel in the comments section below. And Dante's always here on the channel. We need to persuade him to make more content, guys. We do. More comedy codex for Mass Effect. Let's do it. Yeah. But anyway, hope you guys have a great week. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.
Got it. So here's my joke. Samus walks into a bar. Self-destruct sequence initiated. That's it. That's the joke.
Seriously, nothing survives Samus, like ever.
It's not an unfair comment.
It's not an unfair comment.
It's an observation.
It's fair.